In theaters now is X from Ty West, director of more recent notable indie horror films like The Innkeepers and House of the Devil and The Sacrament. And this is set in 1979. It's about a group of, here's where we lose half the people watching this. It's about a group of young, excited first-time pornographers who are setting out to shoot a porn film in a secluded area where nobody will bother them because it is still technically legal in most places. And they pick the wrong place to shoot a dirty movie. So basically, that is the premise. And I thought this didn't look good from the trailers. Didn't look good to me from the trailers. Ty West is a director I've kind of gone both ways with. I thought House of the Devil was incredibly atmospheric. It's one of those movies that's set in the very early 80s and really feels authentic. And it was a very slow build. And then to me, it kind of threw it all away by turning into a modern movie at the end. Innkeepers was also a very slow build, but very atmospheric. Sacrament is basically a found footage, which is something I loathe, but a found footage film that sort of told the Jonestown story to a degree, which is something I'm kind of morbidly fascinated with. I thought that was quite well done. So I have faith that Ty West can make a good movie, but it just, from the trailer, it didn't look good to me because it looked like it was going to be very like phony period, like it was going to make fun of it. It nails the period pretty well, I thought. I mean, there's not a lot to nail other than the music, and again, some really good music in this movie that they were able to get a hold of. The music, the clothes, a vehicle or two. It's a very small movie. You really just see this group of people. They're in the van a little bit. They stop at a convenience store. They go to this farm that is owned by an old man with like a kind of scraggly old man with a shotgun who doesn't take kindly to strangers, and his wife that you don't really see who's in the house somewhere. And then it's all mostly takes place in this little guest house, former barn, cabin, whatever it is. So you do see some semi-explicit depictions of what goes on in a dirty movie and dialogue and things like that. And sooner or later, as I say, they realize they've really chosen the wrong place to do this. I didn't really care for it. The period stuff was okay. I was a little surprised it was 1979 that they set it in, but whatever, that's fine. It really, to me, felt like, here's somebody who's obviously seen some Tobe Hooper movies. And that's fine. You know, everybody's inspired by something. But for me, I just kept thinking, okay, that's like Chainsaw Massacre. Okay, that's like Eaten Alive. Okay, that's a moment that was sort of lifted from Zombie. Okay, that's like The Shining. It just made me think about other movies I would have probably done. My time would have been better served watching the movies that inspired this than this movie. It's pretty slow for the most part. Yes, it's got nudity. Yes, it's got gore and kills and all that. And for some people, that's cool. Like they'll sit through the tedious parts, but if those aspects deliver, job well done. And honestly, I think I'm like one of the few people I know who did not care for this. Really, the majority of people really like this movie. Certainly it worked on the audience that I saw it with, a pretty full audience on opening night. It is an A24 film, if that means anything to you. If it doesn't, A24 is a really popular indie releasing company now, and they did Midsummer and a bunch of other things that are really Lighthouse, things that are well regarded in that genre. And in other just regular art, I think Lamb they released too, art house films. But something about it, like partly the characters. It's got a couple actors you might recognize. Brittany Snow and Mia Goth are in it, and Jenna Ortega, who is one of the two sisters that were sort of the protagonists of the most recent Scream movie. And everybody else is sort of unknown to me, which works actually great because I don't have any baggage when I see these people. I'm not thinking, oh, that's the person who played so-and-so. And it's just like, these are these characters as far as I'm concerned. It felt a little jokey, like it wasn't really taking it seriously to me. Some of the characters felt more like caricatures than characters. The old people that are in it clearly are people wearing age makeup, and I know now there's a reason why they did that, but the characters are old people in this movie. And when I see somebody speaking as an old person and their voice sounds like it's coming out of a rubber mask, and the voice sounds young, and certain ways they conduct themselves look like a younger person wearing age makeup, it just takes me out of the movie. One of the central conceits of the horror of this film, I really don't want to give anything away, so I won't, but one of the central conceits of the horror in this film I found a little offensive as to that's what was supposed to be scary. I think for a young audience, what that thing would be scary, but to me it's just like, I don't know. I just didn't care for it. So it is very gory. It does have sex scenes simulated, pretty graphic for a non-hardcore sex movie, and it seemed like it was just trying to go out of its way to be shocking or edgy or push the envelope, and there wasn't that much there for me. So I did not care for X, but I know that I'm in the vast minority here. As with any movie, I would advise seeing this on the big screen because to me, everything's better on the big screen. I would also say if you go see this in the theater or whenever you may watch this, watch until the very, very end because there is another minute or two at the end of the movie that, whether you like the movie or not, is probably going to be pretty interesting to you. And I won't say anything more about that. But in theaters now, from director Ty West, X.